Hello friends, I am making this video on corona testing or COVID-19 testing in private laboratories. In this video, I will be explaining about the procedure for NABL accreditation for RNA-based real-time PCR viruses as well as the procedure for approval from ICMR to start this facility at your location. So, as we all know, the total number of cases has already crossed 3 millions around the world, and even in India, the cases are more than 35,000, and with the deaths more than 1,000. So, since the beginning, it has been a subject of hot talk about the healthcare facility in India from public as well as private sector, where the Indian setup is ready to deal with this pandemic or not, where the testing facility in India are available or not, or whereas the healthcare facility in India is sufficient to cope up with the current requirement. So here we are not going into the details of each and everything, but we'll be looking or we'll be focusing only on testing facility for corona, that is COVID-19. So when initially the testing was started, it was only limited up to government setup, and government medical colleges or government hospital have started doing the testing of COVID-19. But as the number of cases increased, it was decided that the testing facility will be done in private sector as well. But now all of us know that the private sector for testing, that is medical laboratories or clinical laboratories in India, are mostly unregulated. Most of them are unregistered. They lack the technical facilities, they lack the infrastructural facilities, they lack the skilled manpower, and most of them are operated by unskilled manpower. So to see the compliance of this all the laboratories was difficult, as COVID-19 is a pandemic and it is associated lot of healthcare problems, public health problems. There are so many safety issues of the patient as well as the staff which are involved in this facility. So it was very difficult to assess all these private laboratories and to give them a chance to do this testing. As we know, all of these laboratories lack even the basic infrastructural and technical facilities. There is no proper biomedical based discarding facilities in these small laboratories. So it was very difficult to decide whether this laboratory should be given permission to do this testing or not. So finally, on March 21st, 2020, Ministry of Health and Family Welfare Government of India has issued a circular mentioning guideline from Indian Council of Medical Research, that is ICMR, for COVID-19 testing in private laboratories and the strict follow and compliance with these guidelines. Now, according to these guidelines, the test can be performed by laboratories which has enabled accreditation for real-time PCR assay for RNA viruses. Now, if you see the total number of clinical laboratories in India is more than 1 lakh. There are various sizes, small size, medium size, large size, but the number of accredited laboratories is just around a couple of thousands. And even in that, the laboratories which has enable accreditation for real-time PCR assay for RNA viruses was not even 100. So considering the number which is not even 100, the facility available in private sector was still far from the actual need. So it was it is the time where many of the or most of the private laboratories should upgrade themselves to this facility, and they should start testing the COVID-19 patient, or they should take up this test and make it available in even in urban or semi-urban parts of the India. Now, if we see, most of these laboratories are even not aware about how to start this facility, or they do not have the necessary infrastructure for doing this testing. So, now what the protocol required for doing this test is to get the enable accreditation for real-time PCR assay for RNA virus, applied to the ICMR for getting permission for COVID-19 testing and to start the testing. So friends, in this video I will be giving you details of COVID-19 testing facility, how to get it approved, accredited from NABL, how to make it approved from ICMR, and the procedure of data entry on ICMR portal in a step-by-step manner. So first of all, we will consider the scenario of COVID-19 testing for private laboratories. Now, as per the communication from Government of India, those laboratories which are having accreditation for NABL for real-time PCR assay for RNA virus can directly go for ICMR approval, and they can start the testing on their facility. For this purpose, they need to submit NABL certificate, scope of accreditation to ICMR for getting permission for COVID-19 testing. The next scenario is the labs which are having NABL accreditation, but it doesn't cover the real-time PCR for RNA. Now, in this case, the lab has to go for extension of scope for their accreditation. They can get the accreditation for any of the RNA-based real-time PCR assay, such as HCV, H1N1, measles, HIV, rotavirus, HEV, etc. NABL has created an independent portal for such type of extension of scope for fast-track accreditation. After getting accreditation from NABL, the laboratory can apply to ICMR for approval for COVID-19 testing. They can submit their accreditation certificate, scope of accreditation, staff details, biomedical waste management policy and details, and infrastructural details to ICMR via email, and they can get the approval from ICMR. Now, now comes the laboratory which do not have any type of NABL accreditation. So these are the laboratories which may be having facility for real-time PCR RNA assay, but they are not NABL accredited. So what they can do? So NABL again has created a portal for fresh application, and they can apply for accreditation for RNA-based real-time PCR assay for viruses such as HCV, H1N1, measles, HIV, rotavirus, and HEV, and they can get it accredited from NABL. And after getting accreditation from NABL, they can apply to ICMR for approval and start the COVID-19 facility. Now we will see how to prepare for enable accreditation for real-time PCR assay for RNA viruses. Now, as mentioned earlier, they can go for any type of RNA virus mentioned above, and they can go for the accreditation for any of these viruses. Now, what are the equipment required? Real-time PCR, biosafety cabinet level 2, cooling centrifuge, deep centrifuge, minus to minus 70 degrees Celsius, refrigerator, pipette set, autoclave for sterilization of the waste, and automated extractor, though it is not though it is not a mandatory but a desirable requirement. The details of the equipment has been included in another video, so you can go to to look into the details. Now, what are the infrastructural requirements? Infrastructural requirement include extraction room, master mix preparation room, and a real-time PCR room. Extraction room can be accompanied with a template addition hood, which is again a mandatory requirement as per NABL. All these areas should be designed in such a way that the cross contamination shall be avoided, preferably, and should be in unidirectional flow. Apart from this facility, storage area, sample receiving area are required. Detailed infrastructural plan I have explained in another video. So the laboratories which are planning for this PCR setup can look into the video and get the details. Now coming to the manpower requirement, a medical microbiologist is mandatory requirement for authorization of report. Technician staff who are well trained in molecular technique, nucleic acid extraction, polymerase chain reaction technique are required. The staff must be well trained in good clinical laboratory practices as well as biomedical waste management. Now coming to the reagents and kits, here I have attach a list of real-time PCR kits which has already been validated by ICMR at their various centers. So here I have given a list of kits which are validated by ICMR and can be used for real-time PCR assay for COVID-19 testing. Additionally, there are more than 300 real-time PCR kits which are US FDA or CE approved. People can go to the link attached here and can see the complete list of real-time PCR kits which are US FDA or CE approved. Apart from the equipment requirement, infrastructural requirement, reagents, consumables, the institute needs to have a robust biomedical waste management policy. There should be a separate area for segregation and discarding of the biomedical waste. So these are the mandatory requirements which are required for NABL accreditation for a real-time RNA-based PCR assay. Now coming to the application procedure, if you go on to the website enabledindia.org, you can see the NABL has created a separate portal for two types of application. One is for new users or fresh accreditation, and another one is for existing user or scope extension. So the laboratory which are already accredited with NABL but do not have real-time PCR RNA based assay in their scope can go for as an existing user and for scope extension. Those laboratories which are not at all accredited by NABL can go for a new user or as a fresh application for NABL accreditation. Here I have given screenshot from the both the portals. The first one is for registration of new laboratories or fresh accreditation, and the second one is for existing user or scope extension. Here, if you can see, the NABL has also provided a manual for guiding application for medical laboratories for real-time PCR RNA viruses. So people can go through this manual and see the complete procedure for NABL application. I have mentioned the complete procedure of NABL application in another video, so you can go through it and see the complete procedure. Now, after filling the application, the lab needs to pay application fee as per the laboratory size. So the details of fees structure is given in NABL 100 documents, which is freely available on NABL website and can be downloaded. The details section of application filling is explained in another video. After submitting the application, are some routine formalities by NABL. A lab ID will be generated, a dealing officer will be allotted, and the dealing officer will perform the scrutiny of application. After scrutiny, if there are any deficiencies in the application, the dealing officer will ask the laboratory for clarification or rectifications. After the scrutiny, After the scrutiny, there will be a facility tour by dealing officer along with a subject expert and other officials of NABL. This facility tour mainly involves the preparedness of laboratory. The facility tour or the subject expert will look into the infrastructural requirement, equipment requirement, and will see whether the laboratory is ready for going for accreditation and the infrastructure is sufficient to go for NABL accreditation for real-time PCR based RNA viruses. Once the subject expert is satisfied with the infrastructural and equipment requirement according to the standard requirement, the dealing officer will again contact the laboratory for possible date of assessment. Now, there are two types of assessment. If a local assessor in the subject is available, there will be a on-site assessment by the subject expert or a technical assessor and a lead assessor and a on-site assessment in practical will be carried out. Now, there are many such locations where there are no local assessors available. In that scenario, the assessment is carried out by video meeting apps such as Zoom, Skype, or any other video conferencing app. In this assessment, the assessment will start by evening most probably or as per a convenient time and date from laboratory as well as assessors. The laboratory needs to be ready with at least 4 to 5 devices with the assessing the video app. The assessors will be observing your complete technical procedure along with the document review in parallel via video conferencing. The assessment team can include a lead assessor, a technical assessor. Apart from that, the assessment will be attended by at least 3 to 4 NABL officials, the dealing officer as well. Now, from the laboratory side, there will be a designated person or a representative of the laboratory who should be present at the time of assessment. The authorized signatories should be present at the time of assessment. The assessment is carried out according to the standard annual procedure and checklist. Now, once the assessment get over, the laboratory will receive an assessment summary as well as non-compliances if there are any. The laboratory needs to address all these non-compliances within a period of 30 days. Not to mention, quicker the laboratory is able to address all the non-compliances, quicker the laboratory will receive the accreditation certificate. If there are no non-compliances or after the satisfactory closure of all these non-compliances, the assessment report is subject to scrutiny by assessment committee or NABL secretariat. After which the accreditation committee recommends for accreditation, which is again subject to approval by chairman of NABL. After approval from chairman, the certificate is issued to the laboratory. Now, once the certificate is issued to the laboratory is now NABL accredited for RNA-based real-time PCR assay. So, once the certificate is issued to the laboratory for the scope of the test mentioned in the application and approved during the assessment process, the laboratory further needs to get approval from ICMR, that is Indian Council of Medical Research, for COVID-19 testing. So now hereafter we will see the procedure for COVID approval from ICMR for COVID-19 testing. For ICMR approval, the laboratory needs to follow the ICMR requirements. For details, lab can kindly go to the link provided here and see the details of requirement. Or the lab can go to the ICMR website in the COVID-19 section and look for notification dated 8th April 2020. This application, this notification is specifically for the applications invited for government and private medical colleges for setting up COVID-19 testing facility. So, in addition to private medical college, all the private diagnostic laboratories which are interested for starting COVID-19 testing can use the same application format and can apply to the NABL ICMR for approval of COVID-19 testing facility. This document mentions all the details that are need to be submitted to ICMR for getting approval. The laboratory can send the details of equipment, infrastructure, manpower, reagents or kits for COVID-19 testing, biomedical waste compliance policy along with their NABL certificate and NABL scope of accreditation, which is must include real-time PCR for RNA virus. The details can be mailed directly to Dr. Nivedita Gupta, Scientist F, Division of Epidemiology and Communicable Diseases, Indian Council of Medical Research, Ansari Nagar, New Delhi. Application should be accompanied with pictures of laboratory infrastructure showing biosafety level 2 cabinet, biosafety cabinet type 2 or type B, cold centrifuge, microcentrifuge for RNA extraction, real-time PCR machines, and arrangement of segregation and discarding of biomedical waste. Not to mention, all these equipment must be calibrated and functioning on the date of application. All the applications should be submitted by email at the email IDs provided here. According to this, only real-time PCR assay is recommended for COVID-19 testing. ICMR may ask to submit for some more details as per standard requirement, after which ICMR will approve the laboratory for COVID-19 testing. At the same time, ICMR will issue a user ID, a password for data entry to ICMR portal, and this portal can be accessed at the URL provided here. The laboratory needs to comply with ICMR policy issued by Ministry of Health and Family Welfare. Link is given in the description. So friends, here I have explained in detail for starting COVID-19 testing with ICMR approval. Considering the graveness of situation, I will request many of the private laboratories to come forward and get involved themselves in COVID-19 testing. They can get guidance from this video. They can again call me or mail me in person. I will again make more videos, and I'll be publishing more video on application of NABL process in detail. I'll be making a detailed video on setting a PCR laboratory in your facility, and that will include the description of the equipments and other manpower requirement.